In today's video, I am going to teach you how to use pivot tables in Excel. Pivot tables are one of the easiest ways to summarize and analyze data, especially when you want to quickly see totals, patterns, or comparisons without manually sorting and calculating everything. To get started, we will set up a pivot table using a small example data range. As we go, try to follow along in your own worksheet so you can see how each click changes what Excel displays. First, select your data range from cell A1 to C5. Take a moment to look at your spreadsheet and confirm that those cells actually contain the data you want to analyze. In many cases, the first row is used for column headers, which is important for pivot tables. The headers help Excel understand what each column represents. When you highlight from A1 through C5, you are telling Excel, use this exact block of data as the source. If your data is located somewhere else, you would select your own range instead. But for this walkthrough, we will stick with A1 to C5. Next, click the Insert tab on the ribbon. The ribbon is the toolbar at the top of Excel, filled with tabs such as Home, Insert, and Formulas. Moving to the Insert tab is the step where you can add new elements like charts, tables, and pivot tables. Once you click Insert, take a quick look across the options. You are looking for a section that includes pivot-related commands. After that, click the Pivot Table button. This is the main action that launches the Pivot Table setup process. When you choose Pivot Table, Excel prepares to ask you where you want the pivot output to appear and what data you want to base it on. You may notice that Excel often tries to guess the data range you selected earlier. That is a good sign, because it usually reduces the chance of mistakes. If the range does not match your selection, you can correct it, but for now, we will assume it is already correct. Then, in the dialog box, select New Worksheet. This option tells Excel to create the pivot table on a fresh worksheet, rather than placing it on the existing sheet where your data lives. Creating a new worksheet helps keep things organized and prevents the pivot table from overlapping or cluttering your source data. It also makes it easier to focus on the results, because the new sheet is dedicated to your pivot table output. Finally, click OK. This confirms your choices and tells Excel to generate the pivot table. After you click OK, Excel will add the new worksheet and display a blank pivot table layout. Depending on your Excel version, you will see areas where fields can be dragged, or you will see an interface that shows pivot table options. At this point, the pivot table framework is ready, and you can begin building your summary by selecting fields from your dataset. Now, take a brief moment to review what you see on screen. The key thing is that Excel has created a pivot table area and connected it to your original data. Even though the pivot is initially blank, it is properly set up, which is the most important part of this process. From here, you would normally choose which columns become rows and which columns become values. But in this lesson, we are focusing on the setup steps, from selecting the data through creating the pivot table worksheet that covers everything you need to know. And that is all there is to it.